Hello, fellow survivors, and welcome to the game Prologue, which is a survival game made by PlayerUnknown Productions. You might know PlayerUnknown or Brendan Green as the creator of PUBG, but now he makes these massive technological games such as Prologue, go way back. There's a long-term plan for him and his studio, and I sat down to interview him about the current state of the survival game Prologue as well as the future plans. This is actually the second time I have interviewed Brandon, and the first one talked about Prologue as well. You can see that on my channel. And in this one, we talk more about the current state of the game and where it's headed, as well as things implemented by the community and how the game can be applied in many different ways. So I hope you enjoy this interview. I will mention briefly that this interview was recorded in late 2025, so it took a while to get released for personal reasons on my behalf. And also the game is in early access now, so you can play the full game on Steam if you like. I do also often have giveaways for this game, so if you follow my channel, there will be news eventually about how to get this game for free. So yeah, there's that. Due to technical reasons, by the way, this interview was conducted via WhatsApp, so the camera quality, especially for me, is a bit lower than the previous interview. I have since upgraded my camera system as well, but that has not been used in this interview, so sorry about that. Anyway, that's it. Let's hop into the interview and see what PlayerUnknown has to say about Prologue, go way back. So I'm here with Brendan Green again, PlayerUnknown.
Hi, guys.
Talk about Prologue and the development of survival games. Thank you for having me chat to you once again. Last time was fun.
No, pleasure. It's I'm looking forward to it.
I have played Prologue a little bit since last time, not as much as I would like, but I do have followed it. And I played a bit yesterday, and I have noticed it has improved quite a lot already. Why don't you talk a little bit about how the game is in its current state and the early access launch?
No, so I'm really proud of what we have in early access now. The team have taken what was a simple survival loop, which you probably played at the very start, and turned it into more of a world generator platform, right? Like with
Mm-hmm.
the map editor, the game settings, the different game modes, map sharing, all this, that it's much more and much more what the community wanted. This place that they could go and stay in a cabin if they wanted, right? Like the most requested say feature save is finally enabled and it works okay. But I'm really happy with what we have in early access, and I think we can really build on this and add more depth to the world and build a really cool like world generation system.
I noticed that the game now has it's a bit more polished, has a bit more features, and
Mhm.
it's a bit more user friendly also because you have these optional tutorials or interaction guides. So it's a bit more
Yep.
intuitive how to say cook food, make water, and all this stuff. I appreciate little details like if you drink a water bottle, you keep the empty water bottle in your inventory, which is
Right.
that's nice. That's the opposite of in the long dark where you boil snow, it becomes water, and then magically a water bottle appears in the inventory. And if you drink it, it
Ah,
magically disappears, unless you have mods that change that. But the little things, so I appreciate all the little nuances to it. I by accident realized you could turn on the different hobs on the stove as well.
mhm.
That's also very cool.
You can also
Uh,
use that to light wet wood when it's when you've no matches. Just
oh,
bung a bunch of wood on top and it'll heat it up and yeah, set it on fire.
yeah, okay, that's good, good to know. And
That saved me a few times. You can also now collect water by leaving your bottle out in the snow or the rain,
oh
and it'll just
yeah.
fill the bottle. These little things that, like, the Discord were like, "Can't we do this?" And like, "Can't you collect water from faucets?" Which is on the list. But at least now you can collect water from rain and snow and stuff.
Yeah,
But be careful with mud because it will poison you.
okay. I tried that last time. I tried putting the cooking pot in outside in the rain, and it's like, no, no water. Is it just a water bottle? Or can you put anything that collects stuff?
Not yet. So water bottles, steel flasks, anything that has water in them, like
Mm.
milk cartons as well. There was a small hack that we kind of fixed, which was that you could drink the milk and just refill it, and it would magically turn milk or water into milk. So you get the calories from the milk, but that was sadly fixed.
Oh, okay, I see. It's neat, and I appreciate little details like I noticed now you don't spawn with the fire starting kit, but you still have matches, and there's
Hmm.
little details like when you light the match, match disappears from the matchbook,
Yeah,
which
we're
is
trying
a
to make it
detail you don't
as
often see. you know.
No, we're trying to make it as visually intuitive as possible, right? Like that, like what you see and what you would expect the game to do in real life, you do in the game. I will say when they first introduced matches, I was very annoyed for quite a while because the matches always were getting wet, and the amount of times I died just trying to light matches and and just dying in a rock somewhere. But now I've learned how to play with them, and it's a funner experience.
And I noticed that you do take into account a lot of feedback. So when I last played it more rigorously, I was like, "Oh, how come you can't light the furniture on fire?" and then now you can. These little things, like it's amazing how interactive the world is, and I would like to know, like, how do you see it progressing? Like, because it already has advanced so much in terms of features added or how the world interacts with different objects. Where do you see it go from there? Like, what's the limit really to this development?
Well, I mean, as I said, I'd like the construction system for you to be able to build tree houses, and we actually just
Yeah.
had a meeting on it last week. We were discussing how we'd like it to work, and that's kind of a focus going through early access. Also, adding more variety to the cabins and various states to the cabins. So the cabins will roll maybe one of three states from being like completely abandoned and broken down to being a pretty good cabin. Also, adding stuff like pathing and like telephone poles, these kind of
Mm.
networks in the world to aid navigation a little bit, right? I mean, right now it's just a bunch of cabins in the world, but I'd like to see bigger locations, like maybe campsites,
Yeah.
bigger points of interest with associated paths, maybe not roads, but hiking paths, this kind of stuff. So there's lots of opportunity for us to add depth to the environment and variety to the shelters and such. So that's kind of the focus there, access to really build out the world platform so you can really, you can build as many game modes as you want on top.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, speaking of game modes, I noticed that now you have different game modes, which is nice. You have like explore, which is kind of like casually exploring the world, and
Exactly.
survival, the same thing, but you got to survive, and then the actual WayBack mode, which is to get to the weather station, and that basically opens the door for long-term survival mode, indefinite survival, I suppose. Which,
Exactly.
what were your thoughts on adding that feature?
Well, that is what objective survive is. I
Mm.
mean, it's just there is no end. You just got to survive. And I think 17 hours was the longest I've seen so far. But I
Okay.
expect that to go up now. And also, you can set, because you've got custom game settings, um, you can set how hard you want the world to be. So if you want no cabins and just surviving that way, and like just all forageable goods, you can
Oh
do
yeah.
it this way. Like, I mean, with custom game settings, you can set up like Go Way Back or Objective Survive or even Free Roam how you'd like it to play, and then test yourself like that. So again, just setting up more as a platform for your experience, the way that you want to play, rather than us kind of setting away. And I hope to be able to enable people to share modes as well. So you can create your
Mm.
own game mode and share that with others in the community. We have a link in development where you can just share a map and a seed with other players through just a deep link,
Yeah.
basically. These kind of ways of enabling the community start, building on top of these worlds, right?
That's a good idea. In the Long Dark, they have that where you create your own custom and you get a code you can share. But in your
Mhm.
case, the code also includes or can include the map, which is a whole nother story and all this. So it's a bit more complicated. But if you can do that, that can allow for some really creative experiences as people create or discover modes and maps, which is
Mhm.
what's so unique about this game. Its ambition with the scale of the randomly generated maps and all this stuff. So it's a lot for you to track. So it's no wonder it's been hard to make a save feature when you got so much to save.
Well, this is exactly it. Like, because the world's generated, But I will say when we rolled it out, we have a community internal community testers called Pathfinders, and we rolled out the save to them. And we have one guy that he really tests the game. He plays a lot of it, and he just kept testing the save feature. And he said, "Look, I'm pretty happy. Of course, there's some like double doors and stuff like this, just because it's loading the game. And but now internally, we have most of the stuff he figured out or found already fixed. So I'm optimistic about
Yeah,
pushing save into early access. Right? It's not perfect yet, but it's a really good start, I think.
I think it's fine. I mean, you got to start somewhere. It's always a question of to what degree should something be polished before you release it, particularly in early access, right? So if it's early access, I think it goes without saying that things will improve over time, right? It doesn't have to be
You
flawless.
would think this, but you see early access being used a lot to just push almost a polished game out, right?
Right.
And then very little happens afterwards. But I mean, we really do have a plan over the next year to, as I said, add depth and polish off these systems. But I mean, save is the problem is because of the way we build and generate the worlds. I think that needs to be messaged a little bit more clearly because people will expect a save game like in a traditional game. And if it doesn't work, then they just have an expectation set already. So we just need to maybe massage the messaging a little.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's this is a long-term project really that
Hmm.
gets better every time. What are your thoughts on the inventory system that you guys use? Because there's, some people really like it. It's kind of like Tarkov-esque, and others
Hmm.
really hate it because it's so clunky. But there's a question between easy and realistic and stuff here. What are your thoughts on like what the inventory system is now? And are you?
I've kind of gotten used to it, but I would like to see some improvements, with seeing what's under your arm, having
Right.
other slots. We've talked about like maybe having carabiner slots on your backpack so you can hang stuff on the
Oh yeah.
backpack. This kind of, it still probably will be more Tetrisy than anything else, but I kind of like that. I mean, well, I don't hate it, but it needs a lot of improvement, right? I mean, I think it's a good start, but I think we have to just do a pass on it. Right now, it's working. It does what it's meant to do. We have early access to work with the community to improve it, but there was just other more important things to get.
Yeah.
Even like stuff like custom game settings, all that. Like our UI guys and UX guys have to kind of focus on doing that rather than like looking into deep into the in-game interaction at the moment. But that's still coming. Like we still have animation to do, all this good stuff to make the game feel a lot better.
It also seems to run smoother to me. When I
Hmm.
was playing it now, there wasn't much frame drop, including when I free roamed. And it looks. I don't know if you changed the visuals, but the visuals look better. The moonlight is great.
Yeah. No, they've done a lot of work improving the assets. Like the lighting, especially, has gone through a lot of iteration, trying to balance it. We're even trying. We've done the lighting pass that we'll be pushing shortly. That is trying to balance epic and medium settings because they're the two that most are played, and just making sure those lighting settings look the same as much as possible. Because and that the assets look as similar, and they've made some really good progress. So they've updated all the rocks now are our own custom textures, all the trees were, as I said, I showed you a push we're going to do to make the forest a little bit more realistic. So yeah, I'm really happy with how the world's improved visually over the last, like even the last 6 months, right? I mean, it's just taken leaps and bounds. I've got a really good team.
It's true. I mean, when I interviewed you last time, which was in spring somewhere, and I said, "Oh, imagine what this would look like in a couple of years," and you said, "Well, in a couple of months," you said, and it's true. Like the gist of the game is still there, but it's like it's constantly being improved upon and expanded, but within the same world, which is really nice to see. I'm very fortunate that I'm part of the Pathfinder, so I can see all these little updates. But it's very nice to see because what's intriguing about it is when you see the changes, you think, I wonder where it's going to go next because you
Mhm.
clearly have put a lot of effort into improving it in terms of both mechanics, random generation, and visuals. So that makes it intriguing to see where it's going to go. And I got to give my hat take my hat off. I was going to give my hat, but take my hat
I
for
will
the you
take
and
hat.
the take hat. Yeah, for
I
the
like a
you
hat.
for you and the development team because it's very impressive how it keeps evolving within while keeping the same world structure and also listening to player feedback, which is very nice. So it's a constantly changing project that only seems to be getting better.
Oh, thank you. I'll pass it on to the team. Well, they'll see this anyway, but no, but really, it's all them. I mean, I come in and edit, but like, I mean, they're the ones that are driving. I see the changes that the tree update I showed you, that was kind of a push from one of the developers or one of the artists to go, well, look, Forest, look a little bit more like this. And we've got some great concept artists that have done some, we want to add bogs and stuff like this
Mm,
and more sort of muddy areas. And you see even the concept art we've updated on our homepage
yeah.
for Steam, that kind of gives an impression of how we kind of want the world to evolve to. So, yeah, I'm really excited what they can do over the course of early access because what they've done over the last 6 months, even a year, yeah, has been mind blowing to me. But
Yeah.
again, I guess this speaks to the power of the tech we're building, right? Like the ML
Yes.
tech, as much shit as Gen AI, and rightfully so, gets, right? I mean, the way we're using it is different, right? Like we're not using massive server farms. This is all done locally on your PC, right? We're trying to put it in a way that's efficient to, and again, the image the ML agent generates is a black and white terrain map, basically. It's like it just shows you where the heights are in the world. Everything else is then generated traditionally using procedural generation in Unreal. So like we use it very basically to just generate the world height map, and that's it, right? There's all the textures, all the assets, all this are all created by our artists, but it gives them the speed then to be able to iterate because it generates a new 8x8 every time they play. And that allows us to focus on gameplay and then adding depth to the generation system rather than, worrying about replacing the artists because they still need to build the world.
Yeah, well, there's a good combination of talents and resources, isn't it? So that's a good way of doing it. I don't think I've seen a game that does this to this, at least not to this scale before. So it's a very ambitious and interesting thing to follow. And I appreciate being part of this Pathfinder, so I can, when I'm not playing it, I can still see what people are doing, which is nice. So thank you for that invite. And now that it's in early access, how do you see it going forward? Because now probably you're going to get a lot more players and more feedback, maybe more mixed opinions and that sort of thing. What do you see happening going forward now?
Well, I think open beta really prepared us for early access because we already got a lot of the comments we kind of expected, like where guns, right? Like let me shoot things, like PvP when. But we've done our best to kind of explain it. People kind of get it. Like we're leaving this open as well. Like I mean, we hope to add more modding tools and stuff like this going forward because we want
Mm.
this to be a kind of open platform. So I mean, I always say like multiplayer, maybe DLC 3 eventually, right? If we get enough support and stuff like this. But I mean, dealing with the broader community, I have some experience through the mods and battle royale and stuff like this. But I think it's just important to listen to the community in a way that we see people that want to make the game better for them and then
Hmm.
that want to make kind of the platform better for everyone. And it's just having those filters. But that's why we have Pathfinders. That's why we have our Discord. That like if you're really passionate about what we're building, there is a channel for you to come and chat and leave feedback. And we see that a lot. And I'm like, we've got emails from like Scout Marine snipers, from survivalists telling us,
Oh
tips
yeah.
on how we'd expect to read the maps and stuff like this. So that really like, it really it makes me feel very humble because like to have created something that makes people leave that level of feedback and take the time to write these things. Yeah, it's great. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's always useful. Having from survivalists, that sort of thing. And do you aim to make it as realistic or hard as possible, or is it more a balance between relative realism and gameplay?
I think it has to be more like, yeah, relative to the gamified realism. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to make it pretty intuitive and realistic in that sense that like if you can do it in the real world, you should be able to do it in the game. But I think we have it at a pretty good state that if you're out and it's wet and it's raining, you're not going to be able to light a fire. That's pretty much like it is in the real world. I mean,
Yeah.
I did think about. or we have thought about, maybe removing the constraints of hunger and hydration and making them less of a death state, and more of something that affects your temperature, and makes that a lot more unstable. These kind of, and make it, as you said, focus it on the oxygen, like in Subnautica, right?
Right, yeah.
But but I mean, that's still thing. That's what we'll do over early access, and sort of figure out these. And this is again why we have these game modes now, which is a really useful way for us to test stuff. That, like, we can have other game modes to test. Just trying to survive with just forageable items, right? This kind of, really alone mode, rather than having any
Mm.
cabins on the world.
Yeah, that's do you plan to? I didn't actually check if this was already there, but do you plan to add sort of journal statistic stuff to the survival mode where you can see not how many hours you survive, but how many days and that sort of thing?
Oh yeah, of course. Now at the end, when you die, now we have a new map that basically shows you the path that you took, where you went to. Even if you don't complete the game, we
Mhm.
still give you that data, and we have separate end screens for, survive, for free roam, for go way back. That, like, they will give you all the data you want, including a map of where you journeyed, and and actually where all the cabins were on the map. So I
Right.
was traveling for a bit, and I was playing yesterday evening, and I died of within sight of a cabin. I actually got to the stairs of the cabin and died of hypothermia. But then it shows you a map of where all the cabins, and I was passing them like ships in the night, just
uh,
running by cabins, like 20 meters this way, like 30 meters this way, and I just ran by all these cabins. I think that's going to be nice for people who haven't played the game in a while, to see how many cabins are actually on the map, and you should have explored just a little bit more.
I think that's a great feature because that's something that I've seen in some older games where they have some sort of replay function to show what you did, but I don't see it a lot lately in the survival games I have played. I do often wish that there was some sort of 2D replay system thing that showed where you moved and all this stuff. And the fact that you have this map, that helps a lot. If it shows the cameras, yeah, they can see, oh, dang, I was so close. That's a good feature. That also makes it kind of interesting to die or interesting to complete the game in the end. Of course, then you can
Yes.
see what happened. So that's a sort of feature that it's not essential, but it adds an additional enjoyment to it or interest.
I like having this kind of open wall of stats and stuff that players can access. And again, this will all be open. We already have some community members that are building essentially what we built in game, but tracking their journey across the hypermap.
Yeah.
But now we do that for you. So, but like, all that data, I want to be open anyway, because I think the community can build tools and stuff on top of this that, we won't even think of, but will be super welcome.
It's actually handy for me as a research also because it gives me more data because I have been planning some studies about navigation in in-game worlds, and I was going
Mhm.
to do it in the long dark, but the problem is that then you would have to have a mod that tracks it, and because they don't provide any of that stuff. But if in Prologue you can, if they have this, and you can see it because there's all these studies that show that if people don't have a compass and they
Oh, they're
don't,
running in a circle.
yeah, if there's no compass, no sun, they just go around in circles. But if the sun
Okay,
is
so
present, they go forward.
no, okay, so I did a speed run, and I put it out on our YouTube. It's there. I literally run in a circle because I lose my compass, and then I get and I see where the weather tower is, and I run into a forest, and it's at night, and I get turned around, and I come out of this bunch of rocks, and then I realize, fuck, I've run in a circle. So I go back up to where I was, spot the weather tower again, and then off I go. But in game, I literally ran in a circle, and I knew that study, and I was just like, God damn it. It's yeah.
Do you plan to allow people to sleep in the beds and stuff?
Yes, I think, but I'm not sure yet. Like, it is a requested feature to have, but I think in survival mode, I mean, we should allow you to do something like this, right?
Mm,
That, like, you can maybe spend out the night and sleep and gain some health or something, or
mm.
maybe it's a debuff that if you sleep, you lose a lot of food, or you lose
Right.
this kind of stuff, right? Like, that you need to eat then after, because it's the morning time, right? But yeah, we could make it a game feature, right? For sure.
I think this is just a design question that you could implement that the character sleeps, it maybe even just to pass the night, but it's not necessary. It will also be interesting to see what people do
No.
if they find a cabin and it's night. They can't sleep, so what do you do in the meantime, right? What do people get up to in the night?
Well, what I would like to do is we have talked about just adding reading. There's an
Mm.
open library of Congress or of books out there. And putting these in as items in the world where you can sit in the chair by the fire
Oh, that's
and just read
great.
a book, right? So, like instead of sleeping, maybe just have reading. But yeah, these are all. I don't want it because this is not a real world, really, right? There is a lore behind it that describes like this space. So it's not meant to be because it's generated every time. It's not meant to be a real place.
No.
So it's not bound by the rules of like we want to make it realistic, but not like the real world. Like it's not meant to be a place. It's a digital place, right?
That's the thing. The more you expand on these sort of things and you add features that may or may not be, essential to survival, but they are sort of enticing little details, it makes the game more enjoyable and immersive on different levels. And people can come in and play for various different reasons. They can explore, they can survive, but how they survive is up to them, really, what they do. So I think it's a nice idea to add features like that. You don't have to add those sort of things about book
Oh,
reading,
but I
but it's
really
nice.
want to. I
Yeah.
really want to because I've seen with the community one person posted a video of them coming up to a cabin with a nice vista going, please enable saving, I want to live here.
Yeah.
Right. That like and I feel for a lot of people because people do live in small boxes with noise all day and they don't
Mm,
get an escape to a forest or somewhere quiet, without urban life basically. So having this kind of place that you can just go and there's no threat if you don't want it, right? You can just go and then have your cabin and sit by the fire and read a book. And I even do it now by just reading a book in real life, while having that sound around you, right? And you probably know there's studies showing that like urban noise compared to natural noise, there's you don't retain memories as well if you're
mm.
battered by urban noise all day. So having this as a mental health escape is not something I intended it as, but I see people using it as such, right?
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah, exactly. It can be therapeutic in a way, and I think people treat. Oh, I know from experience that a lot of people treat survival games, particularly very calm ones, like Prologue seems to be
Mhm.
one, Long Dark is one, and there's a couple other ones that they treat them as sort of like tranquil escapes, where they can just do it at their own pace, they can survive, or play on easy mode and just sort of be in the world and be immersed, and
Yeah.
that's relaxing to them. That only works for some survival games. Some others, like being attacked by cannibals every 5 minutes, not so much. But but the one where you can be in the nature or the cabin you built, people find that therapeutic and for various reasons, especially if they have busy lives and that sort of thing. So I think you're on the right track there in terms of the like mental de-stressing that Prologue can provide.
Oh, thank you. Because I didn't see it to start with, but now I really see, like, ultimately, like, what the big project is just building a digital space anyway, like
Yeah,
a digital place for you to go to. So this is kind of the start of this. I expected it just to be a single player game that had no end if you didn't want it to. But now adding these kind of features, it opens it up to be a lot more than just a survival loop.
yeah. I think that you can you'll have one vision of where the game is going, but players might utilize it differently. But as long as the
100%. Yeah.
technology is there for them to do so with your
Uh-huh.
blessing, then you get what's called player-driven narratives, and that's a good thing because that adds layers and bonuses to the game, regardless of what the intent was behind the game. And Prologue has
No.
that.
No, you're right. I mean, it's. I just want to empower the community to create the escape they desire, right? Like, we're not going to bind them to doing one thing. It's here's like three game modes. In 6 months, there might be 100 game modes for you to try, right? Like on our Discord, people like right now you can link an image you find online with a seed, and it will generate a map based on that images. Of course, we use cats in Discord, but there's some image sites that just generate a random image and then you can just load that into the game and play that, which is super fun.
Yeah, you did my logo. That was a fun one.
Yeah,
It was hard to survive on, but it was a nice, Nice map with a nice cabin by the river.
And that's it. And then you just get and now with the new riverbank implementation with it is much better than just rocks.
Oh
That
yeah.
was our programmer implementation, which is just rocks, as is the way. But now we have much more varied shorelines essentially. And that's also going to improve over the next 6, 7 months, where we add, sandy banks and do add some cliff edges and stuff like that. But I'm excited for what I see internally on the roadmap for what we want to improve in the world, and there's a lot there.
Mm. Do you have any idea of like kind of interconnected scale? So let's say a person wants to play this survival mode and survive forever, for example. Now the world is
Mhm.
already very big, 8 by 8, so it's going to take a while to even learn the entire map if that's what you wanted to do. But let's say they did. Would there be an opportunity in the future to say enter another map, or expand upon it, or enter another biome, and then like some sort of connection between them, or is that something that's
No, I mean, I don't think that's impossible. I think the 8 by 8 scale is Unreal limited right now. I
yeah,
mean, Unreal beyond whatever 10 by 10 or so, it gets a little funky. So as Unreal's tech improves and allows us to do bigger worlds, and as we learn how to import our worlds in a more efficient way into Unreal, then this, of course, can be possible. Like I would love, as I said, DLC 3 to have 4 player co-op on a 16 by 16 kilometer world,
yeah,
like really, because I mean the way our tech generates the worlds is meant to get rid of the question of scale. So if the under like what you see in preface, we can do earth scale. And
yes,
we have some really exciting updates for preface coming to add more depth there. But again, it's uh, Prologue is just kind of a small version of that. So if Unreal allows us to do much bigger worlds, then the tech supports that. We can automatically generate 16 by 16 kilometer worlds, maybe in a slightly longer time, but it still should be relatively quick and not rely on massive server farms.
hmm. Yeah, because it's the long term plan to use Melba instead of Unreal for either this
Exactly.
game or a subsequent game.
Yeah, we're not using like Melba isn't meant to be a competitor to Unreal or Unity. It's meant to be just a digital place create or a world generation tool, right?
Hmm.
That then Unreal or we have Blender as a 3D tool that we use, and because we're both open source, we can use them via APIs and stuff. So you can use that as a 3D engine for the world, and the same with platforms like Godot that because again they have an MIT open source license, we can probably use that as long as we're open source to be the game part, but also the engine or the platform. It just should accept Unreal and Unity outputs as long as it's all in an open format. So this is the idea that we're not building a game engine; it's more a world generation engine that you can build games on top of if you want, or not, or just build experiences or escapes.
That's great. I think that this game has a lot of applications long term, and especially the more it develops, because you can, well, for one thing, you obviously have the player base that plays the story and survival and all that stuff, but you can also apply it to things like you can use it to do, study, well, world generation with the preface, and
Mhm.
people can use that for various reasons, whether it's just art or whatever, or you can also use Prologue for various studies to see how people. It's quite easy to, particularly because you make it quite open and you give a lot of data. It's quite easy to use Prologue as a platform to research like in-game psychology, for example. But in other games, it's not as easy because things are a bit more varied or outside your control or whatever. So it's an interesting project, I think, because it automatically applies beyond getting to the weather tower, which
Mhm.
is what I really like about this game. It's something that's intriguing to see grow because there's a lot of things you can use it for that may or may not be intended when it was developed, but that doesn't matter because it's organically grows out of the project when it grows. So
I think that's the nice
yeah.
thing about developing open platforms is this kind of stuff happens, right? It
Mm,
happened with the internet. Like, I'm an old web developer. what you can do with CSS now compared to what you could do with CSS 20 years ago
Yeah.
blows my mind, right? I mean, it's same as when jQuery was first introduced. Just because the internet or HTTP was just an open platform, you could plug in new tech to it and make it work. And that's what we hope to achieve with Melba. But that's it starts with Prologue that we want to go start as we mean to go forward, which is leave it open, leave the data there for you and others to use as possible or however you want, and set up the game however you want to test whatever you want, right? I mean, it's meant to be a game for you to use how you want rather than us to tell you how.
Yeah, that is a very good way of saying it. A game for to use. Yeah, that's a good attitude. Yeah, so it gives players the tools play the game how they want effectively.
Exactly.
That's a nice because some other games are the opposite. They have as what we call they are on rails. Like there's a very specific way you're supposed to play the game, and the developers don't like it when you don't do it.
Soldier, get back on mission. Uh,
Exactly, you're leaving the area. Get back. Now I want to make a
yeah, I know.
campfire. So that's so
Yeah, no,
good.
that as I said, I kind of fell out of love of games because of that kind of mechanic.
Yeah.
And Daisy, the mod, drew me back in because it didn't have that. It was just an emergent space.
Mm.
And that's what I love in gaming is providing these kind of emergent spaces. And Prologue is essentially that, right? Here's an 8x8. Go do what you want. I
Go
mean, the
nuts.
story is yours to tell. I'm not going to tell you what to do. The fun is yours to make it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I can just imagine the isolation psychology studies say we put 10 people into each world in Prologue. We left them for a week, came back, they were dancing naked around a campfire. You know sort of thing.
I mean, but I mean, the nice thing about the way that we have the world set up now, like we want to set up weather to be, because we can't do speed runs right now because the weather is still orangey between
Right.
between rounds. Um, but we do have tower runs, which we launched, which was someone tried a speed run, but we turned it into a distance run. So just get the quickest or the shortest route between the starter cabin and the weather tower. We realize now we have to have decimal points because everyone was getting 6 kilometers, so we have to get like just
Right.
to knock it down to 100 meters or even 50 meters or 10 meters. But now they call them tower runs, and it's yeah, once we get the weather locked in and the loot and cabin spread, or loot, I think is still orangey, but as long as every system is locked into the seed, then we can have 10 players race the same seed. So you
Mm.
don't necessarily have multiplayer yet, but you have a way that, like, 10 streamers can get together and see who can finish a single seed in the fastest time or survive the longest, this kind of experience. So this is what excites me about, like, we can't have multiplayer right now, but there's a way of having the same experience together, which
Yeah.
it's a start.
I think that's again the right attitude because for example, again in the Long Dark, you have a very inclusive community despite it being a solo survival game, and the issue is exactly what you described. There is actually speed running in it, but the weather is RNG, so some people start and then they get a blizzard in their face, right, and others
Yep.
get backwind and sunshine, and that's an issue that you can't really circumvent. And oh, I think my camera crashed, but anyway. But
It's okay.
from a content creation point of view, I also like that if there is an option to lock the weather, either through the cheat mode or the sync custom, whatever, it makes it a lot
Mhm.
easier to standardize something that you want people to do, or creating,
Yep.
say, aerial footage, because it's annoying if you have something really nice and then it changes. So
Yes.
I actually really like it if that is a feature, and because then you can it's much easier to control the content you create and the game world you set up to share with other people. So I think you have the
No,
right
it should
attitude
be
there.
fully deterministic, right? It should be,
Yes.
if you want to set up a game world in this fashion, this is the game world you should be able to share and everyone experiences it the same way. So like that determinism needs to be there. It requires a bit of work to get it in place. But even with the weather, for example, we're going to leave it as a toggleable switch. So if you want to just have it still orangey on the same seed, that's fine. but as you said, for speed running, for this kind of competitive end of the game, which I never really imagined at the start anyway, we have some work to do.
Uh,
I come from modding. Like, I just want to enable those tools for all the players and make them relatively simple, right? Like, it's, of course, I want to give people, we're leaving the game unencrypted essentially. So, if you want to get in and hack it, you can probably, right? I mean, but I mean, we want to apply a layer of UX to that allows you to share maps, to build maps, to mod maps in an easier fashion, right? The way that I would have appreciated back when I was learning how to code in Arma.
yeah, there you go. I think this community inclusiveness is a big strength of this project. I think, in all honesty, if you didn't have the community you have on Discord, especially, and if you didn't have the Pathfinders, then this project would be a lot more generic in a sense. It's another thing, and here's what we did today, and here's what we did. But because it's so open, and not just in terms of being transparent, but also listening to people, including people, it makes it more welcoming, and you feel like you feel like you're part of the development in a way. You called it Team Two last time, like the playtest of Team
Yeah.
Two, and that's nice. That makes the people feel like they are sort of organically part of it. They may not dictate how the game is going to go, but they understand that this is something they can use themselves and they can grow along with it, which is very nice. It's
That's it. We listen. As I said, we don't necessarily implement everything we hear, but
no,
like, we do try to take as much of that feedback on board as possible. And it's why we did the open beta, because I initially thought it was just going to be a simple survival loop. But seeing the interaction on Discord and seeing that people wanted different ways to experience the world, it made us push, early access out until the 20th, and then add these additional kind of content generation features, right? Like the map editor, the game mode settings, so the free roam. So, there is an easy mode. There's, you can play the game how you want, and it's not just the experience we wanted to give you, right? We built the game with the community, not for them.
yeah, yeah. That's that's one of the things I really like about this. And a big question has really, where do you see yourself long term with this game? Like when the game is out of early access 1.0, what does the game look like then?
Well, so we have a story points that we're adding into it. So at 1.0, you'll get we'll just crack the door open to the story and the lore. It's why there's a Lucy get to the weather tower at the start. That is meant to be a cutscene. At the end, when you light off the flare and stuff, that's another cutscene that will open the door a little bit more. But then over the course of early access, when we've added more depth in the DLCs after early access, I want to put out like 3 DLCs, and each of those will be a story point with a bunch of essentially missions that will allow you to do stuff in the world. So, for example, go and turn on all the radio transmitters in the world
Right.
in order to be able to receive a message at the weather tower. This kind of just leveraging the world in a more traditional story-based fashion, because then the world will be, pretty well built, and we've got a good foundation to start telling the story. So that's how I see it evolving. And really, it's kind of giving us time until Melba's ready for game two. And we see that maybe 3-4 years. So this is where we have DLCs, and Unreal is a great tool to work on, and we have a lot of depth and stuff we can add to the guided generation system. So I think there's a lot we can do there anyway. And I said before, I'd love to be able to release this tech to the wider dev community and allow them to create maps at the speed that we can create maps, and allow them, because it's the biggest drawback in making survival games, is that the time you spend building the map, sometimes it's releasing parts because it just takes so long to build these big places. But with this tech, you can build these big places in a lot, uh, faster time, and allow your team to focus on the important things like gameplay and the interactions you have in the world.
Yeah. There you go. It's a long project that's just interesting to follow. I was wondering, as you develop it, how does that work with relation to Melba? Do you kind of like, because it's in Unreal, do you develop stuff in the game Unreal and then you kind of like in parallel try and apply it to Melba, or how does that relationship work between the two engines?
Yeah, we're not quite there. I mean, there's some stuff from the guided generation tech that we have taken, like for example, the way we spawn cliffs in Prologue, we've taken some of that learning and applied that in Melba. But really, the stuff we're doing in Prologue is more how the game feels, how you
Mm.
interact with stuff, how the UX of the thing. Whereas Melba is tackling the scale of the thing. So like we will take some of the learning into Melba, but really it's more trying to figure out the how do we create fun at this kind of scale, and if we go bigger, what kind of player scale relationship do we have? But so this is what we're kind of going to figure out over the next few years.
Okay. Is there anything you would like to say before we wrap up?
Thank you to my team. If you're watching this, thank you. Really, I mean, they have done the heavy lifting here. You know, I came in with a simple vision, and they've really taken the work they've done in the last year on Prologue and the product we have in early access. I couldn't be prouder, really. I think like seeing the fun people have. Someone posted a bunch of escapes they did. And I think it was about 10 escapes on the feedback channel, and each of them was like 2 hours long or something like this. So like they had spent, someone else posted this wonderful thing where they said like, I'm not going to spend my whole day playing this game. And then also 661 minutes later, where they'd spend like 11 hours in the game. So like to everyone that like spends time testing and leaving that feedback, thank you. But really, it's to the team. Like they've done such an amazing job over the last 2 years at making Prologue more than I ever could have imagined. So super proud.
Well, thank you so much for having me here, or yeah, for having me here again, and for the
Oh no,
interview.
my
It's
pleasure. Like anytime, really, I really enjoy our conversations, and you've always got some great questions. So thank you.
anytime, and I look forward to next time, and I look forward to seeing where it goes now that it's in early access. So if you're not playing it already, hop in and try it out, and let them know what you think. And thank you so much, Brendan, for your time, and best of luck with the continued development of Prologue and all future projects.
Thanks so much, Zach. Have a great day.
Okay, fellow survivors, that was it for this interview. I hope you enjoyed it, and it's quite likely that I will interview PlayerUnknown again in the future, so stay tuned on the channel if you want to see more of that at some point in the future, as well as more Prologue content. This channel primarily does the long dark content, but also other survival games. But Prologue is fast becoming the second biggest content on the channel because it's an interesting game to follow the development of, because I'm part of the Pathfinder team, so I have insider access to builds that are not yet public, and I'm privy to all the information about the development sort of day by day. And it's really fun to be part of how this cycle, really, this whole process of how the game is evolving every single week, more or less. And for me, the main thing about Prologue is that I recognize that in its current state, it's a good but crude game, but it has so much potential that I'm really curious to see how far this game is going to go. All that being said, hope you enjoyed the interview, hope you enjoyed the game, and I'll see you next time, survivors. Bye bye.